Some Alabama commitments and some Alabama targets are shining bright.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back in Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you newbies for being here today. And thanks everybody for making this your first listen every day. Jimmy, moving on to recruiting, and of course, it's going to be a big week in practice. It's going to be a lot of fun. But there was an Under Armour camp in Nashville, and some Alabama targets, and in particular, an Alabama commitment really shone brightly. Is that right? Shined brightly?
Shined?
Shined? Is shown the word? I know it's a word like if you were shown the door, but
yeah. S-H-O-N-E is a word. Shone.
So.
He shone brightly.
He shone brightly. Okay. Well, it was Jamarion Matthews. And this is a guy that probably when he committed didn't get enough fanfare, but he showed a lot of power, a lot of technical skill. He won every single rep, apparently. This is a guy that's 6'2". He's 240. He's going to get a lot bigger. And this is a guy that just really showed out. I expect him to really jump up the charts. For the most part, he is ranked a 4-star. Only 24/7 has him a 3-star. On threes, got him in number 121 in the country, ESPN 215 and Rivals 231. I'm going to be willing to bet this guy moves in the top 100 across the board.
Very possibly. It's events like these that matter a lot in the rankings. The fact that he showed out in front of or alongside with other college prospects, it means a ton to the rankings people. So, yeah, we said back when he predicted that this was a guy that was going to be a riser. I think On Three just kind of did the work on him before the others in this case. Hey, and sometimes it's the other services that find or get to a player quicker. But I think On Three got to him first and did the work up first, and that's why it's reflected in terms of why On Three has him ranked higher than the other places for now. But it's events like these that will get him notice and rise up across the board. So I think it's interesting to me, Luke, that this guy has such great pass rush ability, but he's likely to play the bandit spot at Alabama, where like LT Overton plays right now. And I think he's going to have a body like LT Overton's where, at first when he arrives to campus, you're like, gosh, this guy could probably get away with playing linebacker, but that's hardly ever the right way to look at it. I mean, once you got to project him as, okay, where is he going to be in 3 years? I mean, where's his body going to be in 3 years? Put him there so he can get used to playing there and learn it. So I think he'll be a day one bandit at Alabama and just kind of develop into a really good one. Bandit, it's kind of a run stopping position first and foremost. But secondly, you're truly a really good player there if you could do that and rush the passer. That's why LT Overton is such a high value player. I think Jamarion Matthews can develop into a player like LT Overton. And I'm really excited about him, and I was excited to see him do well in Nashville because that's a pretty big event. They had a lot of big names there.
Correct me if I'm wrong about LT Overton, but didn't he graduate early? Didn't he? Wouldn't he he forgot his senior year, he's
shown himself the door in the 11th grade.
Yeah, and so that's one reason probably he wasn't like as big as people want him to be maybe when he showed up at Texas A&M initially. But see, Jamarion Matthews gets another year in high school. So he may blow up a lot more without being in Alabama.
That's exactly right. These reclassifying kids, my default on all reclassifying kids that play at the line of scrimmage, and bandit's a line of scrimmage position, no doubt about it. I would even say that outside linebacker. I would say anything in the front seven on defense is a line of scrimmage position to me because you're banging heads with offensive linemen. Any kid that reclassifies that plays in those spots needs to redshirt. I will believe that, except for the freakiest of freaks. And LT Overton is not, despite his 5-star status, is not the freakiest of freaks. I think what really set him back a full year in his development was that he did not redshirt. And then A&M made it worse by playing him out of position. Now he's finally older and playing in the right position. And thankfully he returned to college, because the kid really needed another year of development because of not redshirting, frankly. And, that's how I always feel about that. You're right. Jamarion Matthews playing the full 4 years of high school probably better serves him in the long run. Imagine if he does the full 4 years of high school and redshirts, like so many front seven guys should do. I mean, it's pretty difficult to play high school football one day, and then a few months later, you're literally banging heads with college SEC offensive linemen, most of whom have been in school and in these training programs for 3, 4, 5 years. It's just nearly impossible to do that and do it well. So I like the track that Jamarion Matthews is on, and this is a big pickup. I love Alabama's got 4 commitments in this group, Luke. I think they're off to an outstanding start because the 2 corners are elite. I think Jamarion Matthews is kind of on the doorstep of elite. If he's not, he's just, he's somewhere between elite and blue chipper. And then Chris Booker, the 4th guy, he's
just got offered by Georgia.
I was going to say a little bit more of a long-term project, because I don't think Chris Booker will be great quickly, but his upside is way up there, as evidenced by his offer from Georgia. When you're offered by just Alabama and Georgia, I mean, it's pretty good, right? It's not like, well, you can say, well, he's and I know he's got more offers than just that. I'm just saying, when Alabama says yes and Georgia says you're a take, you're good. You're good. You're not. And that's the guy I would rank 4th amongst the 4 guys committed to Alabama. So Alabama off to a great start. We all know most of the heavy lifting is going to be done in June and July in terms of the commitments.
And then, of course, the On-3 MVP was Caden Harris. And the interesting thing there, Alabama is recruiting him. They are involved. He's supposed to visit on June 20th. But the interesting thing to me is he's another defensive back. Now, Alabama just got a commitment from Jordan Edmonds, who is drawing rave reviews from everybody. He's a 5-star. This Caden Harris kid is from the Tennessee area, and Alabama's involved. But it's like, I mean, I love that we're involved with so many, but there's something about this that we're involved with so many defensive backs, and we've already got a pretty good young roster of defensive backs that, like, I kind of want to see more Jamarion Matthews's than Caden Harris's.
Some people thought we would go downhill with DB recruiting after the Saban change, because Nick Saban was such a DB prospect magnet, because that's his specialty. But Alabama DB recruiting has been outstanding, and we got to credit Mo Linguist with a lot of that. The kids seem to like Mo a lot. Obviously, DeBoer likes Mo a lot. Kind of remember, Mo never worked for DeBoer till last year, and now DeBoer has basically given him the entire secondary to coach. He clearly has major recruiting responsibilities and is hitting that out of the park. Mo Linguist's been a huge asset to Alabama football, no question about that. And Caden Harris, wow, what a good prospect. It's just a great year for corners, and a lot of them, like Alabama, still in great shape for cornerback Brandon Arrington, 5-star. Elbert Hill from Ohio. He loves Alabama, and that's very possible. These dudes are super elite, but Caden Harris probably proved this weekend, hey, if you're the alpha of that event,
it's a big deal.
You're a dude.
Let's talk a little FanDuel, because we always do, and we love it. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. There ain't no Cinderella stories this year, by the way, all number 1 seeds. And even who's cutting down the nets. Look, I've loved FanDuel this whole tournament. It has been so much fun. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantaneously. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long and there ain't much tournament left, so you need to hurry. You know, everybody gets so excited about, hey, is Ryan Williams putting on weight? Hey, who's going to be the quarterback?
Yes.
Hey, who's going to be?
I'm just answering the questions.
These are rhetorical.
Okay.
Who's going to be, you know, on the offensive line if Caden Proctor is hurt or whatever? But you know, we don't talk about the specialists enough.
Yeah.
We need to. We need to, Jimmy.
Well, and one of the reasons being so many of them are missing this spring. So it's kind of weird. It's like, okay, we don't have any answers there. and then guys that are projected to maybe win those spots are out. So it's a good time to refresh, particularly since there won't be a real A-Day where who knows what kind of kicking that we're going to display on the A-Day, which is basically just going to be a practice. So the fans may not even see these guys. So it's a good time to for a refresher, really. The long snapper is very likely to be a dude that a lot of y'all have never heard of named David Byrd. He actually was the starting long snapper at Cal last season. This was a guy that had a lot of accolades coming out of high school as a long snapper. He goes to those specialist camps where they time how fast the ball gets back to the punter and the kicker. But anyway, this guy was a starting long snapper at Cal. Apparently he thought, gosh, there's a long snapping opportunity at Alabama. And that just sounds like a pretty cool place to play right now, right? So now the thing is, he's had a minor thing, so he's out of spring. So he's not participating this spring. Normally that could be, you know, an issue because that is a timing position and you have to develop a rapport with the other specialists you're working with. But this guy's got a ton of game, you know, big college football game experience. So I'm not worried about that, but people need to know him. David Byrd, B-I-R-D, likely to be the long snapper for this upcoming season. Again, from Cal. The punter, and this is fun every time we talk about it. You know, Alabama did sign a scholarship punter out of high school. He's out for the spring. Also, he's there. He's enrolled. He's got an injury. He's missed the spring. However, I don't believe he's going to be the punter. I think the punter is more likely to be a walk-on, a new walk-on, invited walk-on, Blake Dowd. He has been a starting punter at the Division III level where he performed at an all-star level. Now, that's Division III. That's 2 levels down from, you know, even FCS football. So in other words, Mercer, they played a much higher level of football than this dude was playing. So this is some low-level stuff, right? But the dude's numbers are insane. Now, he was punting in Colorado at the Colorado School of Mines. And yes, me and Luke have gone over this several times, and we may again because it's funny every single time. And exactly, yeah, and who knows? For all I'm speaking out of ignorance, which of course everybody listens to the show knows I do that every day. But for all I know, this place is like a combination of MIT and Harvard. For all I know, I mean I don't know, but he was the punter at the Colorado School of Mines.
His fake punts are really fake punts.
He's not even punting at all.
Do you think like his face paint is all white with like little triangle eyebrows?
Yeah, his punting average is surprising considering he's never punted it completely out of the glass box with which he performs in.
It would really mess everybody up if like he didn't actually have a ball, he just pretended and dropped it, and then like you see him fake kick it and he just does like this. Everybody's like, should I fair catch the nothing? I don't know.
His numbers are really ridiculous. I think he averaged, off the top of my head, something like close to 48 yards a punt. And the thing is, yeah, it's a low level of football, but I think the punting rules are the same. I can't imagine that there's a ginormous
and it is Colorado.
Difference. Yes, there is altitude thing. There's an altitude, could be an altitude thing. That's famously known in the NFL. I mean, where the Denver punter has an advantage over the other punters because of the altitude. But the way I look at it is, you know, he's obviously going to have to clean up some things. I'm sure that there'll be a difference in terms of getting the ball off quicker. I mean, because you know you're just facing better athletes, and the punt returners are so much more gifted. You know, so he's going to have to work on some things, but I think he's going to be the punter, Blake Dowd, and he is there this spring Alex Asparoff is
and by the way,
freshman.
the other thing that's funny, given that he's from such an altitude, is Asparoff sounds like some kind of breathing ailment. Like, hey man, what's wrong with you? I've got Asparoff. I'm just
maybe that's why he's out this spring.
Yeah, his last name isn't Asparoff. He's like he's got Asparoff.
So he's out this spring.
Yeah,
But no, and he's a really good prospect, and I think eventually he'll be the long-term answer at punter for Alabama. But this dude, Blake Dowd's got multiple years of experience punting in college games, even though it's at a low level. And I anticipate Blake Dowd being the punter. Finally, the last thing, kicker, is what I'm really, truly excited about is Connor Talty. What's funny is I think if you ask just a standard Alabama fan, are you excited about Connor Talty? I don't know that you get a lot of super optimism, but why not? Here's the reason, because last year when it was his first year to kind of be the punter, they instead went to the transfer portal instead of sticking with Talty. Well, Talty's a year older now. And let me tell you, this is from talking to people last fall in camp. There were some observers that weren't convinced that Graham Nicholson was better than Talty last fall. I mean, Talty won the job as the kickoff guy. I think it was in part because they didn't want Talty to leave. I think the staff got kind of like, hey, I think this guy is going to be really good. So Talty became the kickoff guy, did a pretty good job with that. But from what I hear in practice and throughout fall camp, he looked good. And this spring apparently has looked good. Here's the answer about Talty, about, hey, do you think Connor Talty's going to be good? Let's see if they go to the portal again. Alabama attracted the Lou Groza Award winner last year out of the portal. They can get a quality kicker to get into the portal if they know Alabama's looking. But here's my guess. I bet this year Alabama doesn't look. I think they're like, let's go with Talty. I think the kid's good. So I think there's a reason to be excited about Connor Talty as Alabama's place kicker.
And I know we've said this before, but it feels like only Alabama could have a guy that should have won the Lou Groza, then go get the guy that did win the Lou Groza, and then make him look like he wasn't even in competition for the Lou Groza next year.
That is funny that I wouldn't say that Nicholson last year was better than Reichard the last couple of years. Although, I think
he wasn't bad. I mean, he wasn't.
No,
bad.
he was fine.
He wasn't Lou Groza-esque.
Well, he didn't have much opportunities to kick because, frankly, Alabama was really good in the red zone. I mean, Alabama's offense, you got to give Alabama's offense credit. There just weren't a lot of field goal opportunities because Alabama rarely had 4th and long in field goal range. They were either making first downs and scoring, and sometimes they turned it over, but turnovers weren't an enormous, ginormous problem when you look statistically nationally. Alabama didn't turn it over in the red zone more than everybody else did. I just think there just weren't many field goal opportunities. I think he only missed a couple times, and one of the misses would have been a career long for him. So I don't really knock him. I think it was 53. I'm not knocking him for missing that. I think Graham Nicholson was fine. Will Reichard was just so beloved by Alabama fans. It was going to be hard to accept anyone else. But hey, Connor Talty signed with Alabama out of high school. He's been here now 2 years. Now moving into his year 3. He's ready. I think he's going to be really good. Is he going to be Lou Groza award winning? I wouldn't put that on him. I'm just saying, hey, watch. People ask about quarterback, and place kicker. Watch what Alabama does in the portal. If they're just not in the portal, and they weren't in the portal for a kicker or a quarterback in the big portal, the winter portal's got a lot more players in it. They weren't quarterback shopping. They weren't place kicker shopping. I doubt they will be this spring. I doubt it.
All right, when we come back, we're going to have one more basketball segment. I mean, there probably won't be a lot more for the next several months, but we want to talk about the roster for next year and the outlook for Bama going forward. All right, so Jimmy, again, you and I said over and over that this was a very successful season, in my opinion. Yeah, people can say we started, we were predicted by someone to win the national championship and didn't. But okay, I mean, that's always kind of tough. Our buddy Reese Davis made a great point that, hey, this is why it would have been much better to get a number 1 seed. You get a number 1 seed, usually get a little bit of a better draw, and it probably would have been better. I don't know that this Bama team could beat Duke. Beating Houston again would be a yeoman's task. We obviously had our trouble with Florida, and Auburn was also tough. So I'm not sure this team was of that caliber. But, the future is still very bright. And I'm going to start off with the three guys coming in that we know of. There's also Braden Berries, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, that's still out there. I think he ends up at Arizona, but Alabama could still get in on him. There's London Jemison, there's Davian Hanna, and Amari Allen. These three guys, the way that I listed them is the way they're ranked. But I'm probably most excited about Amari Allen from that group. I think he ended up winning Wisconsin Player of the Year over Davian Hanna plays actually is at Link Academy, but he plays in Missouri, but he's from Glendale, Wisconsin. They're both Allen and Hanna are both from Wisconsin apparently. But I'm excited about Amari Allen a lot. There's also a huge transfer from Bucknell on campus, or I don't know if he's still there right this minute, that is 7-footer that can shoot the three, player of the year in his conference that Alabama has a good shot with. There's Corey Chest from LSU, who had a monster game against Alabama when they played in Tuscaloosa this year. Alabama's looking at him in the portal. There's Jaleel Bethea from Miami. Everybody thinks Alabama leads for him. He was a 5-star recruit last year. Didn't set the world on fire at Miami, but you know what? Nobody set the world on fire because Miami had a lot of turmoil and it was just a bad year for the Hurricanes. But I do know the one thing I'm looking at is, and there's also Adrian Woolley, Willie.
I think it's Woolley.
Billy. Alabama certainly going after him from Kennesaw State, 6'5", originally from Tuscaloosa. He went to Louisville, didn't commit, which is a positive. They wanted him to. So let's hope that Alabama can get in on him, get a little more length in that position. There's talk out there about Darian Reed possibly transferring to Georgia. I've heard that rumor for months now. It wouldn't shock me in the least. And frankly, it doesn't – I would love to have Darian Reed back. It doesn't break my heart. I would rather have Aiden Sherrill back. Being honest.
I think the Sherrill types are harder to find. I mean, guys that are his size, that have his skill set is just simply harder to find than the Reeds of the world. I would like them all back. I think just the main point I want to make about the roster is this. There are 9 players from last year's team who can return to Alabama. 9. There were 13 guys on the team. You lost four seniors. So 13 minus 4, that's still 9. Then you add in the 3 signees that Luke talked about, Jimison and Allen and Hanna. So 9 plus 3, that's 12. There's only room to bring in one guy, but y'all might have noticed that Alabama's far more active in the transfer portal than just looking for one guy. That should tell us all that Alabama's expectation is that players are leaving, and that's okay. Whether it's Philon headed to the NBA, whether it's Darian Reed transferring to Georgia. I've heard rumors about literally every single player on the roster leaving. Rumors that we don't have enough money for this guy. This guy's frustrated, or this other team's offering him all this money. And I don't know what's all true. And I just know this. You have one spot, but Alabama's recruiting a bunch of dudes. So don't be surprised when these 9 guys that are scheduled to be back, some of them leave. I think that's the expectation. And it's okay as long as it's talent out, but talent in, that's okay. But I just want to bring up numbers wise that there's only room for one if everybody's staying. So everyone must not be staying, or at least that's the expectation.
Yeah, and there's so much to be excited about for next year. I want everybody to keep their head up, and I know that it's tough. You look out there and Auburn's in the Final Four, and that makes everybody a little bit But you know what? Let me say this. The 4 best teams in the country made the Final Four, and that's what I always clamor for. So I'm not going to be upset about it. Let me go ahead and tell you about some other things to be thankful for next year. Now, Ryan Pannone, or is it Pannone? Pannone. He is headed to Arkansas State, so Alabama loses out on him. But I feel I have all the confidence in the world. Nate Oates will get somebody very good for that position. But on top of the roster that is, there's going to be a lot of turnover. I can promise you this: it's going to look good. The schedule is going to be awesome again. Purdue should be coming to Tuscaloosa. Arizona should be coming to Birmingham because they backed out of the game this past year. And so this is the return trip from when Bama went and played them in Phoenix. Alabama is going to Chicago to play Illinois. That's going to be a lot of fun. Then there's this Players Era tournament. And I just pulled it up. And I just, look, it's over Thanksgiving. I'm telling you right now, y'all know me. I hate deli meats. I hate turkey in particular.
It's like a Sweet 16 field.
Listen to this. Listen to this field. Bama, Auburn, Baylor, Creighton, Gonzaga, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon, Rutgers, San Diego State, St. Joe's, St. John's, Syracuse, Tennessee, A&M, and UNLV.
Nuts.
You can't beat that. And
Nuts.
Look, St. John's with Rick Pitino, Michigan with Dusty May and what they're doing over there. Of course, Auburn's in the Final Four. Houston's in the Final Four. Tennessee was in the Elite Eight. Iowa State's going to be good. Gonzaga is always good. Of course, Bama and then our arch nemesis Creighton is going to be there. We can't shake Creighton. And then, I know Syracuse and Rutgers. Syracuse of late sort of fallen flat. Still a big name. And then there's another arch nemesis in San Diego State that's going to be there. So I think this is a ton of fun. I'm telling you right now, I'm giving serious consideration to just saying I ain't doing Thanksgiving. My Thanksgiving is going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. And even though it's the Iron Bowl weekend, I'm really leaning towards doing that. And if any of my family wants to go, more power to them. If not, Daddy will be solo.
Prayers to the waitress in Las Vegas who tries to serve you turkey on Thanksgiving Day in some restaurant in Las Vegas.
It's too close to Thanksgiving to be a jive turkey.
Luke does not like turkey.
I just really don't. I don't understand the fascination with it.
I do like turkey.
Ugh, it's got such a unique flavor that just sort of. Usually, I'm down with unique flavors. Turkey just doesn't do it for me, bro. Now, a couple other little random.
Oh, by the way, one thing about basketball, I just want to bring up why it's on my head because I'll probably forget to say it. And see, I don't know this. Maybe y'all in the comments can tell me this. Did anyone else in the Elite Eight, was anyone else down a starter like Alabama? See, I don't think we make enough deal of it. I mean, Latrell Wrightsell would have been a starter and a potential 40% 3-point shooter on this team, and we didn't have him. And the fact that you can lose a starter and still make it to the Elite Eight. I mean, maybe everyone else in the Elite Eight did, and I just don't know. But I don't think so. So who else lost a starter? And I'm not even mentioning Houston Mallett was going to be a contributor to this team, and he couldn't go either. So Alabama had some pretty bad injury luck and still accomplished what they accomplished. I think it's pretty amazing. And
I'll make a prediction.
Best back-to-back years in Alabama history.
I'll make a prediction, and this is so it's kind of futile because you have no idea what basketball is going to look like next year, right? And you have no idea what the tournament field is and all this. I bet you Alabama does at least as well next year as we did this year.
Wow. And another Elite Eight, is that what you're saying? Or
yes, at least. And the reason I'm saying that, it feels like that's how life works sometimes. You think everything's set up for this year, and it's really the next year. You know what? It's the Peyton Manning, T. Martin scenario. Mm-hmm. That's what I look at. Now, I want to give a quick shout out to the baseball team. They beat Oklahoma, so they win the series. I am not a baseball guy. Y'all know this. I'm getting a lot of joy out of the Braves starting 0-4. I can tell you that because I can't stand the Braves because everybody seems to love the Braves, and I hate baseball, so it works out.
Luke knows the Braves are 0-4. That's got to mean something.
That's got to mean something. But the baseball team, look, this baseball team's got the makings of a team that could make some noise. Now, obviously Tennessee is on another level. They've already come to Tuscaloosa and won 2 or 3. We beat them once. And again, sometimes when you get in Omaha or something like that, all you got to do is beat this team once sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about the prospects of this baseball team. I'm excited where it's headed. I'm glad it's doing so well. And then also shout out to the softball team. They dropped the first game to Georgia, and they come back and win the next 2. Pat Murphy's caught a little heck. He needs to get some flowers when his team does well.
I'll also say, who would have as good as the basketball team is, making it to the Elite Eight 2 years in a row, as good as the football team is, because we know what Kalen DeBoer inherited, Nick Saban's Alabama football, and look how he's continued to recruit. The best athlete on this campus in major sports at Alabama is Justin LeBron, Alabama's shortstop, who has a chance, as we sit here today, to be the #1 overall pick in the 2026 Major League Baseball draft. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. We've never had the #1 overall pick. Being just simply drafted in the top 10 is going to put him in some pretty elite category. I'm not sure what the highest drafted Alabama baseball player has been. I know it's not
got to be Magadan.
Overall, Magadan would be up there. And Alabama's had first round picks even recently, but #1 overall, particularly even for a shortstop, that would be just outstanding. And as of today, it looks very, very possible. We can't say that about basketball or football right now. Talk about the #1 over. I mean, Ryan Williams is a superstar. No one talks about him being the #1 pick in the draft. Though I bet he's within shouting distance of it.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.